Hey guys, I want to take a minute and look at Psalm 50 verses 7 through 23 with you. This really spoke to me yesterday when I read it because it really highlights two extremes that we can go off in, and we can miss the point in the middle. We can miss that narrow path that's in the middle. God is speaking here, and he speaks to one individual, and he says, "Hear, O my people, and I will speak. O Israel, I will testify against you. I am God, your God. Not for your sacrifices do I rebuke you. Your burnt offerings are continually before me. I will not accept a bull from your house, or goats from your fold. For every beast of the forest is mine, the cattle on 1,000 hills. I know all the birds of the hills, and all that moves in the field is mine. If I were hungry, I would not tell you, for the world and its fullness are mine. Do I eat the flesh of bulls, or drink the blood of goats?" So God is speaking to one individual or groups of individuals here, and he's saying, look, it's not for your sacrifices that I'm rebuking you, because your burnt offerings are continually before me. You're spot on in your religious observances. But he tells them here, you need to keep in mind that all that you're giving to me in these acts of offering is you're returning to me what's mine anyway. It's all mine anyway. I literally spoke everything into existence. I don't need anything from you. This is particularly relevant as we deal with people who really kind of pat themselves on the back for the tithing and this and that, and their religious observances in that respect, because at the end of the day, it's all God's anyway. He doesn't need your money. He just doesn't. He's not dependent on the U.S. economy or any other economy. The purpose of what we're doing is the purpose of the offering is what God is after, and we see that in the next two verses. He says, offer to God a sacrifice of thanksgiving. So what kind of sacrifice is God looking for? He's looking for one of thanksgiving. And perform your vows to the Most High, and call upon me in the day of trouble, and I will deliver you, and you shall glorify me. So the kind of glorification that God is looking for here is he's looking for our heart, not just religious observances. So sometimes we have a tendency to get caught off on one extreme, where we hear this particular rebuke at all of the good things that this guy is doing, and how God is calling him back to his heart. And we can get off on one extreme over here, where it's like, oh, well, being religious is wrong. God only wants our heart. But we see in contrast in the next passage, but to the wicked, God says, what right have you to recite my statutes or take my covenant on your lips? For you hate discipline. You cast my words behind you. If you see a thief, you are pleased with him, and you keep company with adulterers. You give your mouth free rein for evil, and your tongue frames deceit. You sit and speak against your brother, and you slander your own mother's son. These things you have done, and I have been silent. You thought I was one like yourself, but now I rebuke you and lay the charge before you. So, pretty stark words here, as God sits here and says, this other individual, this wicked individual, as he describes it, he's not doing any of the religious observances. He is reciting them like he knows them, but his life is living in direct opposition to the very things that he claims. He's keeping company with adulterers. He's patting himself on the back. He hates to be disciplined, and so on and so forth. So on one side, we can look at things and be like, oh, being religious is the enemy. And it's not. On the other side, we kind of let the pendulum swing back the other way, and we're like, oh, well, we're going to live in opposition to religion. And God is not all for that as well. He's not looking for us to have religious observances that is absent from our heart, but he's also not looking for us to have this hypocritical type of life where we're claiming to be religious, but our lives are living in direct opposition to it. What God wants is God wants both. He wants your heart, and then from your heart comes the religious observances from the right place, and then from your heart comes the ordered manner of living that we're supposed to be living after. but it all stems from the heart and it manifests itself out, as opposed to trying to be religious on this side or trying to live in opposition to that, what would be called Pharisaical religion, trying to live in opposition to it over here. And what neither one of those, God has our heart. So we see in verse 23, well, we'll look at 22 because it's a pretty stark warning. But it says, mark this then, you who forget God. So both sides, both have forgotten God. Lest I tear you apart and there be none to deliver. That's pretty harsh. And then in verse 23, he gives his conclusion. He says, to the one who offers thanksgiving as his sacrifice glorifies me. To the one who orders his way rightly, I will show the salvation of God. So what we have here in this last verse is we have both individuals who are being called to this same place. God wants your heart. God wants you to glorify him. He wants you to thank him when things are going well, but he wants you to run to him when things are not. He wants you to order your life in holiness, modeled after him, modeled after his son. And in that, God will be glorified. And in that, he says, I will show you the salvation of God. So